month now, and the Lahaina fire is just now finally 100% contained, but is still not yet extinguished. There's over 1,000 people surveying and performing hazmat cleanup, yet the fires are still going to this day.
Almost 4 weeks since the Maui fires broke out, and firefighters are slowly making progress.
So where are the children? It's been one entire month since the Lahaina fire, and officials are still giving families and the public no real information. No update on the death toll, which they're now saying is anywhere between 115 and 385. Also, no information about the missing children or their parents. No updates from the DNA matches that Police Chief Pelletier was rapidly collecting.
She and another sister on the mainland did DNA swabs weeks ago. She filed a missing persons report with police too. She's been asking for 10 days if her DNA matches any of the 115 remains.
We've never got that information.
And still no proper relief from the government. The public remains left in the dark with no idea how many are actually missing. What we can assume is that the number is much higher than the 385 the government is claiming, and much higher than the less than 50 active missing person cases that Governor Josh Green is saying. As we've seen, the official number makes wild jumps down from the over 2,000 kids that were originally missing. It also doesn't match up with the latest stats from the Department of Education, which says out of 3,000 students enrolled in West Maui, approximately 1,200 remain undetermined.
33, we're tracking new developments regarding West Maui schools. Now, here are the latest stats from the Department of Education. Before the fire, there were 3,001 students enrolled in that area. Since then, 778 have re-enrolled in other schools. 874 have signed up for distance learning. 129 are now enrolled in charter or independent schools. 12 have withdrawn. Now that leaves about 1,200 students that the DOE is actively trying to contact.
Nick Sorter said, at a minimum, I believe officials are definitely hiding the real numbers, especially for missing, from the people of Maui, hoping this story goes by the wayside and their grip of power becomes less threatened. Families are left with more and more unanswered questions with each passing day.
Those who have been searching for clues about what happened to their loved ones are frustrated with the lack of answers from officials.
Yeah, Bridget, a lot of family members flew to Maui searching for answers and for their loved ones, and now many of them are leaving with more questions and with heartache.
There are hundreds of families who don't know what's going on. They're unable to come here. They're getting bits and pieces of information, and there needs to be a hub they can go to have their questions answered.
We still don't have any answers regarding the school buses as well. I had mentioned the buses on a video a few days ago, assuming you had seen the video on it already. I left you all with questions, so this next video you're about to see has no audio, but if you read along, it will explain the school buses. School was canceled that day, as they tell us, wouldn't the buses be lined up in the parking lot since they weren't in use? Footage has surfaced of a long line of school buses evacuating from Lahaina. School was canceled that day, as they tell us, wouldn't the buses be lined up in the parking lot since they weren't in use? Footage has surfaced of a long line of school buses evacuating from Lahaina. Speaking of vehicles, there are currently over 18,000 cars sitting idle at the Maui airport.
Maui's rental car companies are working to ship out part of their inventory as tourists have fled the Valley Isle.
Thousands of cars are still parked at the Kahului airport, and many say it reminds them of the pandemic.
At Kahului airport and the surrounding fields, it's a sign that Maui's economic engine is at a standstill and appears like a repeat of the COVID pandemic.
They're two separate lots and they're both full of empty cars, and yeah, it's just surreal. Yeah.
And from an airplane window, the massive scale of devastation from the Lahaina wildfire comes into full view. There are 7 rental car companies at Kahului Airport. The Maui District Airport Manager says there are 21,000 rental cars. 3,000 are currently rented, leaving 18,000 cars to sit idle.
There's one more video I'd like to show you, again with no sound, but if you pay attention, it may also prove that we're being lied to about the children being sent home from school the day of the fire. People of Maui are now being forced into bankruptcy and eviction from their own homes. Once again, Nick Sorter voiced his outrage, saying, "Hey FEMA, how about all the people on Maui that are about to be forced into eviction and bankruptcy because you're rejecting the vast majority of residents' claims? That $700 is a freaking insult to the people of Maui. Even your own employees know this is a freaking joke. Get it together. The great people of Maui can't handle the suffering much longer. Not including rent or a mortgage, $700 lasts less than a week for the average family in Hawaii. FEMA fails the people once again."
Name me one major issue that we've set our mind on solving we haven't been able to do.
Joe Biden made an appearance in Florida to check out the damage from Hurricane Idalia, and people there want to know why he still hasn't gone to East Palestine yet.
Well, I said in March that you would go to East Palestine, Ohio. You came here. How come you haven't gone to East Palestine yet?
Well, I haven't had the occasion to go to East Palestine. There's a lot going on here, and I just haven't been able to break. I was thinking whether I'd go to East Palestine this week, but I then was reminded I've got to go literally around the world. I'm going from Washington to India to Vietnam and so it's going to be a while. But we're making sure that East Palestine has what they need materially in order to deal with their problems.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy toured Lahaina over the weekend and pledged continued support to help rebuild Maui.
I think there's disasters and they're going to continue to be disasters. I think we could better prepare where a disaster doesn't happen.
And McCarthy also made a little trip to Hawaii over the holiday weekend, visiting the wildfire-devastated communities of Maui. While there, he vowed the people of Hawaii would get the truth on what started the fire, why it grew out of control, why residents weren't notified faster, and what can be done in the future to prevent this type of devastation from ever happening again.
If school was canceled that day, as they tell us, wouldn't the buses be lined up in the parking lot since they weren't in use? School buses evacuating from